In this video we are going to study principle of chemistry 1. So this is our first lecture, and in this video we are going to study chapter number 1, which is chemical tools, experimentation and measurements, John E. McMurray, 7th edition. Okay, we all know about chemistry. What is chemistry? These are basically the changes that take place in nature and the social changes about the past 2 centuries. And chemistry is central to the current revolution in molecular biology that is revealing the detail of how life is genetically regulated. So this is about the modern world, how the things are formed. These involve basically the chemistry. In everything it involves chemistry. So when we study the scientific method, we come across these 4 things. First of all, we have observation. It is the systematic recording of qualitative or quantitative data. It is the things that we observe and the recording we are made uh, after observation. So it can be qualitative or quantitative, and both qualitative or quantitative. Quality tells about the qualitative analysis, and observation tell us about the quality of a particular thing or the thing we are going to study, and the quantitative data tell us about the quantity of something that we are going to study. So after we made observations, we form hypothesis, which is the explanation for our observation. It is quite clear, and observation consistent with hypothesis forms theory, which is basically the principle that explains the experimental results and predict new outcomes. When we test this theory and test predictions of theory, uh, we go to the process of experiment. Experiment is the procedure to test the hypothesis, change one variable at a time. Then experimenting and measurement, we have to use some fundamental SI units in measurement: mass, length, temperature, amount of substance, time, electric current, luminous intensities. These are basically the basic units, and here are the names of these units, and here are the observation abbreviation that we use for these units. Then we have some prefixes for multiples of SI units, and the prefixes shown in red are commonly used prefixes: giga, mega, kilo, deci, centi, milli. These are most commonly used prefixes, and these are the examples how we use. For example, teragram, gigameter, megameter, kilogram, hectogram, decagram, and so on. And here are the factors how we classifies these prefixes: and tera, which is equal to 10 raised to power 12, for example kilo, which is equal to 10 raised to power 3, and again deci is equals to 10 raised to power -1, and so on. Again, this is same as we study in the previous table. So here are some examples how we express measurement into scientific notation and SI unit. For example, we have the diameter of sodium atom 0.00000000372 meter. It is too small and we can't read it properly, so we can convert this expression and this measurement into scientific notation by moving the decimal point from left to the right. And how many times we move the decimal point, we put that number into the power of 10, and here we move 10 decimal points, and we put the decimal after the first non-zero digit. And 3.72, we move 10 decimal points and we put 10, because we are moving the point from left to the right, so the power is in the negative form. But when we move the point from right to the left, then we put positive. For example, as in this case, we shifted point to the left, so it is in the positive form. And we can replace this power with the suitable prefixes. So here also we can move the decimal point and put the scientific notation. For example, in this case, we can write as 5 multiplied by 10 raised to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is negative 9. Okay, you can do the same for this 70 micrometer. First of all, you have to put the value of micro, which is 10 raised to power negative 6, and then convert into the SI unit, which is meter. And here also you can replace tera with 10 raised to power 12 and write kilogram, convert into the kilogram. Then we have mass and its measurement. What is mass? Mass is the amount of matter in an object, and weight is the measure of the force with which gravity pulls or on an object. Here are the different definitions of a meter. Meter in 1790, its definition is 1/10 millionth of the distance from the equator to the North Pole along a meridian running through Paris, France. And in 1889, its definitions changes to distance between two thin lines on a bar of platinum iridium alloy stored near Paris, France. And in 1983, its definition becomes the distance light travel in a vacuum in a 1/299,792 458 of a second. So here are some questions from the exercise. You can practice it by own, and if you find any difficulty you can ask me. Okay, then we are going to see the temperature and its measurement. There are three scale of temperature measurement. First of all, we have Fahrenheit, then Celsius, then Kelvin. So these are the freezing temperature of these three type of scales, and these are the boiling. So in Fahrenheit, at 32 Fahrenheit water freezes, and at 212 Fahrenheit water boils. And similarly Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius water freezes and 100 degrees Celsius water boils. And similarly at Kelvin, at 273 Kelvin water is freezed, and at 373 Kelvin water is boiled. So in the Celsius and Kelvin, there is a gap of 100, but in Fahrenheit there is a gap of 180. So how we measure the temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit? For example, if I can give you a temperature in Celsius, you can convert into Fahrenheit, and if I can give you a temperature in Fahrenheit, you can convert this temperature into Celsius. So let's look at the formulas, how we can convert these, and how we can convert Fahrenheit into Celsius, Celsius into Fahrenheit, or Celsius into Kelvin. So if you are provided with temperature in Celsius, you can use this formula to convert the Celsius temperature into Fahrenheit. So it is 9/5 multiplied by Celsius, the temperature of Celsius you are given. You can write the temperature in Celsius here, and multiply it with 9 and divided by 5, then add 32, and the result you can get is in Fahrenheit. And for Celsius, when you can convert the temperature into Celsius, Here you can put the temperature in Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit -32. Here you can put the temperature in Fahrenheit and subtract 32 from this temperature and multiply it with 5 and divide it by 9, and you get the result in Celsius. But how you can convert the temperature when you are provided with Celsius and you are asked to convert it in the Kelvin? So you can add 273.15 into Celsius and you get the result in Kelvin. So let's look at some example how we can convert these. For example, the normal body temperature of a healthy adult is 98.6 Fahrenheit. So what is the value on both Celsius and Kelvin? So we are provided with the temperature in Fahrenheit. We have to convert it in Celsius and then Kelvin. So first of all, we convert it in the Celsius. We can use the formula. Celsius is equals to 5/9. 5/9. First of all, we have Fahrenheit -32, and we are provided with the Fahrenheit temperature 98.6 Fahrenheit -32. We subtract these two terms and then multiply it with 5 and divide it by 9 and get 37. And then we have to convert this temperature into Kelvin, and similarly we can add 273.15 and we get the temperature in Kelvin. So you can solve this question, which is same, but only there is a change of value, and you can solve it by own. And these are some practice examples. You can do it by own, and if you felt any difficulty you can ask me. Okay, then we have derived units. What are derived units? These are the units that are basically expressed in the terms of base units. For example, for a volume and its measurement, we can use area, volume, density, speed, acceleration, force, pressure, energy. So area is basically the length into length, so it is derived from length and from meter. Its unit is meter square. And volume is also derived from length. When we multiplied length 3 times, we get the volume. And density is derived from mass and volume. So speed is derived from distance, which is length, and time and second. Similarly, acceleration, force, pressure, energy are also derived units. Here are the units, how we can write it in unit, and these are the some derived quantities. So these are the basic conversion factors, how we can convert a term into another term. Meter cube into decimeter cube, decimeter cube into liter, decimeter cube into centimeter cubes, centimeter cube into milliliter. Follow these simple conversion factors to convert the terms into one into another. So each cubic meter contains 1000 cubic decimeter. So this is basically 1 meter cube is equals to 1000 decimeter cube, and each cubic decimeter contain 1000 cubic centimeter. So each decimeter cube is equal to 1000 centimeter cube. Okay, and 1 centimeter cube also equal to 1 milliliter. We can measure the volume. This is burette, this is volumetric flask, this is syringe, this is graduated cylinder. How we can find density? These are the basic common densities of a common materials. These are given, and typical volume units that we use for solid, liquid and gases are as follows. In solid we can use centimeter cube, in liquid we can use milliliter, and in gases we can use liter. And the formula of density is equal to mass over volume. We can find density by putting the value of mass and volume. So this is a question for your practice. What is the volume in centimeter cube of 20 201 gram of gold. Here we have to find the volume. We can get the formula of volume here. When this volume multiplied with the density and density divided by mass, we can get the formula of volume as mass divided by density. So we are provided with the mass 201 gram. We put here the mass and divided by its volume, divided by its density, which is 19.31. This density is found from this formula. The density of a gold is 19.31. And by dividing the both these terms, we get the answer 10.4 centimeter cube gold. Then we have accuracy, precision, and scientific figures in measurement. So what is accuracy? It is basically tell us about how close a given value or given measurement to a true value. And precision are tell us about how close the measurements among each other, how close the measurements are with each other, not to a true value. But accuracy is something that is related to a true value or an accurate value. This tell us about the accuracy. Measurement can be accurate and not precise, or measurement can be precise and accurate, or can be both. For example, we take the accuracy, precision, and significant figure in measurement. For example, mass of tennis ball, its true mass is 54.441778 gram, and when we measure it with analytical balance, we get these. These both have good accuracy or good precision, as this is similar to the true value, and these all four measurements are close to each other. So it tell about the good precision and good accuracy. They are both precise and accurate. But when we take the measurement with the lab balance, it gave us poor precision. The value is accurate because it is comparable to the accurate true value. It is similar to the true value, close to the true value, but not among each other. They are not close among each other, so there is poor precision. But what happened when we measured the same mass of a tennis ball with bathroom scale? It gave us poor accuracy and poor precision. These are not close to the true value and not close among each other, so it gives poor accuracy and poor precision. So then we have look at about significant figure. What are significant figure? The total number of digits recorded for a measurement. Generally, the last digit in a reported measurement is uncertain or estimated. Exact numbers and relationships, 7 days in a week, 30 students in a class, effectively have an infinite number of scientific significant figure. So we are provided with basic rules for counting significant figure. So rule number 1 is zeros in the middle of a number are like any other digit, they are always significant. For example, 4.803 centimeter. So this zero is in the middle of a number, and this is always significant. And we have 4 significant figure. So whenever you come across the zero which are in between the two digits, so this zero is always significant. So rule number 2 are zeros at the beginning of a number are not significant because they are for they are placeholders and they are for distance purposes. So these zeros are not significant. It has no value. So you can ignore these zeros, and there are 3 significant figures. You can convert this value into scientific notation, and then you realize that there are 3 significant figures. These zeros have no value. Rule number 3 is zeros at the end of a number and after the decimal point are always significant. For example, 55.220k, there are 5 significant figures because 0 is placed at the end, but there is also a decimal point. But if there is no decimal point, then the zeros at the end are not significant. But when there is a decimal point and there is a 0 at the end, so these zeros at the end are always significant. Rule number 4 is 0 at the end of a number and before the decimal point are not significant. But if there is a zeros at the end and there is no decimal point, then these zeros are not significant. For example, 34 to 100, there are 3 significant figures only, and these are more examples. So these are for your practice, you can solve it by own. So let's look about the how we determine precision and accuracy in set of these measurements. For example, we have a dartboard A. You can see here these are precise because these three are close to each other, but they are not accurate. They are not close to the true value, which is the center. They are not close to the center. It's showing the good precision but poor accuracy. These points are in the center and also close to each other, so they are showing good precision and good accuracy. But that board C shows poor precision and poor accuracy because they are far away from each other and also far away from the center.